And a very good evening to you. Welcome to the Daily Report. I am Shiksha, Arora. Of course, this is TV47 alongside my sign language interpreter tonight, Roda Nyamai. Now, in case you're wondering what exactly we will be talking about, well, we've got a lot lined up for you, from politics to, of course, the scales of justice. We'll also be taking a look at what's happening in the counties. We've got business news, we've got sports news, and then later on, we will be moving to Green Fix. And as you can see, our screens already, we'll be having a very interactive conversation about going green and this particular initiative. We also have our big why. The question tonight is, how many trees are you going to plant before 2032? Now remember, President Ruto has initiative, and in this initiative he said that it targets to plant 15 billion trees by 2032. Do you think that's something that you want to be a part of? And if yes, how many trees do you intend on planting? Would absolutely love to hear from you. All right, first things first, it's time for the highlights. Top on the Daily Report. DPP approves the prosecution of Bomet Governor Hilary Barchok and former Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati, among others, over allegations of corruption and abuse of office. State House church construction halted. The court has halted the construction of a church at State House until the case filed to challenge the project is heard and determined. Also, Juris Pesa storm hits bench. Lawyers and judicial officers respond sharply to President William Ruto's recent remarks linking the judiciary to corruption. All right, welcome to this live broadcast. Of course, you're watching TV47. This is the Daily Report, and tonight's top story. Kericho Governor Eric Mutai is staring at a political crossroad that could determine his survival in office. Witnesses who testified against him claim he renovated a dilapidated house at a cost of 2 million shillings, an expenditure they term a ghost project. Mutai, however, dismissed the allegations during his defense on the floor of the House. Paul Kirubi now reports.
I remember during this afternoon session,
Day 2 of the Kericho governor impeachment trial marked a crucial turning point as both sides put up efforts to present and challenge key evidence. Among the issues the governor is facing is allegations of authorizing the renovation of a house at a cost of 2 million shillings. However, eyewitness testimony from members of the county assembly claims the house was incomplete, yet payments had already been made.
Let's just pick one item because time is running, the roofing element in the BQ. What does the BQ prescribe as to be done on the roofing?
Okay, the BQ says that it allows for careful removal of the asbestos roof.
Let's look at the screen. Is the asbestos roof removed?
No.
Proceed.
Okay, it also says that and cutaway is directed by the project manager.
Is that element of the BQ undertaken from what you can see on the screen?
No.
Next.
Allow for replacement of defective timber work for roofing, for example, rafters and purlins.
Was that done?
No.
There are committees that have been formed. In your investigation of the other committee, was there anybody who was committed for committing the anomalies that you have now found? That they gave contract to people, they paid the money before you came to the governor. Was there anybody who has been sacked? Was there anybody that you have recommended and the government has failed to sack?
The county assembly, which tabled the impeachment motion, has accused the governor of gross misconduct, abuse of office and mismanagement of public funds. In his defense, Governor Mutai dismissed the impeachment as a politically motivated scheme, alleging that crucial reports were only shared with him after the motion had already been filed. Narok Senator Ledamo Lekina used the floor to call on the Senate to take a stronger stand against widespread corruption in county governments. The high-profile trial has gripped not just Kericho, but the entire nation, signaling a growing public demand for transparency and accountability from elected leaders.
Will it be in order?
Witness. You know I'm not the witness.
Sorry,
Senator,
will it be a request for you, Mr. Speaker? Will it be in order for us to call for the contractor who was paid this money? Because we're all talking about fighting corruption. If a contractor was paid 2.8 million to fix a building and it was not built, We need to be able to separate fact from fiction.
With the Senate closely scrutinizing the evidence and witness testimonies, all eyes are now on the chamber and whether due process and procedural fairness will prevail. Governor Mutai is expected to learn his fate on Friday as the Senate prepares to make its final decision to impeach or not to impeach. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, the High Court has temporarily halted President Ruto's plan to construct a 1.2 billion Kenya shillings church at State House. 4 civil groups petitioned the project, arguing it undermines constitutional neutrality, religious equality and public participation. Justice Mwita issued conservatory orders that will remain in place until November 18th, when submissions on the matter will be heard.
In a strong move to uphold the separation of church and state, the government has been stopped from constructing a permanent church or any religious structure within the State House. Justice Chacha Mwita, in his conservatory order dated August 26th, saying, I quote, "A conservatory order is hereby issued restraining the government of Kenya, its officers, and anyone acting on its behalf from constructing a permanent church or building associated with any religious faith within the grounds of State House, Nairobi, or any other State House or state lodges until 18th November 2025. End of quote. 4 petitioners challenging President Ruto's plan to build a church in the presence of the House on the Hill had argued that putting up a permanent place of worship at State House contravenes the Constitution, which declares Kenya a secular state. The 4 under the National Integrity Alliance banner include the Kenya Human Rights Commission KHRC, Transparency International Kenya, Inuka Nisese, and Transparency International South Africa. The petitioners argue that building a religious facility within the State House raises serious constitutional concerns concerning the separation of religion and state.
Now, a Nakuru-based surgeon, Magare Gikenyi, has moved to the High Court to challenge President William Ruto's decision to establish a panel of presidential experts to oversee the compensation of victims of demonstrations and public protests. Now, Magare argues that the president acted outside the Constitution by unilaterally creating the panel. High Court Judge Chacha Mwita has directed that all pleadings be served immediately, with petitioners given 7 days to file their submissions. Fatim Suleiman now reports.
According to a petition filed by Nakuru-based surgeon Daktari Magare Gikenyi, the Constitution does not grant the head of state such powers. He argues that the Constitution only allows the president to establish an office within the public service and only on the recommendation of the Public Service Commission. Therefore, Gikenyi contends President Ruto acted outside the Constitution. Daktari Gikenyi further argues that the responsibility for compensating victims of human rights violations is already constitutionally assigned to existing state institutions. These include the judiciary, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, the Victims Protection Agency, and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. The petition also raises concerns about the lack of transparency surrounding the panel's composition, remuneration, and terms of reference, claiming no competitive or merit-based process was followed in its formation. Meanwhile, the High Court has directed all respondents and interested parties to file their responses to the petition and accompanying application within 7 days of being served.
Now, the Director of Public Prosecutions has ordered the indictment of Bomet Governor Hilary Barchok over allegations of conflict of interest and unlawful acquisition of public property. The DPP also trained his eyes on former Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati, alongside several county officials and private contractors accused of embezzling more than 70 billion Kenya shillings. Mike Kaguongo now reports.
The Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, has finally come out guns blazing against a host of current and former elected leaders, following alleged corruption cases initially investigated by Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission (EACC). The DPP stated in a statement Thursday that it received inquiry files and reports under Section 35 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, Cap 65 Laws of Kenya, from the EACC on July 18, 2025. The investigation alleges that Governor Barchok received 2.7 million shillings from companies that traded with Bomet County between the 2019-2020 and 2024-2025 financial years. The EACC recommended that Barchok and Evans Kipkoech Korir, director of Chemasus Construction Limited, be arraigned and charged. The statement read in part that upon thorough review, I have directed that Governor Hilary Kipngeno Barchok be charged with conflict of interest, contrary to Section 42(3) as read with Section 48 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act of 2003, and unlawful acquisition of public property, contrary to Section 45(1)(a), as read with Section 48 of the same Act. Additionally, ODPP said Barchok, Korir and Chemasus Construction Limited will face charges of acquisition of proceeds of crime, contrary to Section 4(a), as read with Section 16 of the Proceeds of Crime and Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2009. The DPP also addressed allegations against former Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati and a host of county officials and private contractors who allegedly embezzled 70 million shillings. The inquiry implicated several individuals, including Bungoma County Roads, Infrastructure and Public Works Chief Officer Maurice Waile Marango, Director of Public Chain Management Alex Musonye Odanga, and Director of Skyman Freighters Limited, as well as Nabwala Construction Limited Michael Simiu Wangamati. The DPP confirmed the charges recommended by the EACC, saying Wycliffe Wangamati will be charged with conflict of interest contrary to Section 42(3), as read with Section 38 and 48 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act. The DPP's dedication to guaranteeing accountability and legal compliance was emphasized by the recommendation of additional procurement-related charges against other officials and contractors. Further inquiries will be conducted to establish the full extent of any alleged misconduct and ensure justice is served. The DPP also confirmed that investigations into Kiambu Governor Paul Kimani Wamatagi and Marsabit Governor Mohamed Mohamud Ali are ongoing. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning has defended the rollout of the electronic government procurement system, arguing that it will boost transparency, efficiency and value for money in public procurement. He announced that over 1,200 procuring entities and 7,600 suppliers have already registered, with more than 10,000 officers trained. While acknowledging implementation challenges, he highlighted support measures such as a call center and trainers. His remarks come amid support from Deputy President Kithure Kindiki, even as the Council of Governors criticized the rollout as hasty and disruptive, despite Parliament annulling the mandatory use circular. Take a look.
We are going to eliminate cases where you procure and you can't pay because the budget that was provided has been used to do something else. Now that will not happen. In fact, next week I'm chairing a meeting where we are going to deal with how do we handle cases of ongoing contracts. Because the budget, once uploaded in the EGP system, will now trigger the procurement, that fresh procurement, and cannot go back to pay the historical pending bills or historical bills to be paid.
Our goal is to deepen ongoing reforms, strengthen the use of county systems, improve absorption rates, and ensure that every shilling of ODA is fully aligned with Vision 2030, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, and the medium-term plan for priorities.
Now, Kenya national football team Harambee Stars players who are in the CHAN 2024 squad will now pay only 1 million shillings to own a 2-bedroom affordable housing unit, with the government promising to top up another 1 million shillings for each player. President William Ruto also announced a new package of rewards for individual and team athletes, promising to triple cash incentives for Olympic medalists. Here is a report by Duncan Mutua.
When they stepped onto the pitch during the 2024 African Nations Championship CHAN, they played with pride. They played for the nation, and the roar of the stadium stands echoed the sound of victory. This team, Harambee Stars, became the pride and cheers of an entire nation. Into the State House, ready to be appreciated for the efforts at the CHAN 2024.
I've been in the national team for the last 15 years. Hatujaipata support kama hii.
Tukishinda. Tumekubaliana?
Just a few days before facing Zambia in their final Group A match at the CHAN 2024, President William Ruto had promised each Harambee Stars player a 3-bedroom house if they secure a spot into the semi-finals.
Tukipita semi, mina upgrade ile affordable house kutoka 2-bedroom inaenda 3-bedroom.
But the Bini Makadhi-led side fell short, exiting the tournament in the quarter-finals after a defeat by Madagascar. A loss that dashed their semi-final hopes, and with it, the dreams of a 3-bedroom house. Yet, at the State House today, it was all smiles. President William Ruto announced a new reward. Each Harambee Stars player will receive a 1 million grant to cover half the cost of a 2-bedroom affordable house. With the total price set at 2 million, players will have an option to pay the remaining balance through a mortgage plan or a one-time cash payment. The homes will be accessible in any part of the country.
For the avoidance of doubt, maybe many people think that we are dishing out affordable houses. No, you pay. And we are going to pay the 1 million for these young people, and they will pay the other 1 million.
The team's performance at the CHAN 2024 has not only inspired the nation, but also set a new benchmark for rewarding sporting excellence. In recognition of their outstanding achievement, individual Olympic medalists will now receive significant increased rewards. 3 million for gold, up from 750,000, 2 million for silver, up from 500,000, and 1 million for bronze, up from 250,000. For team sports such as football, volleyball, and handball, the new reward structure will see winners receive 750,000, runners-up awarded 500,000, and third-place finishers take home 350,000, a notable improvement from the previous payout.
So far, on average, we have increased prices by 400%.
Duncan Mutua, TV47.
Now, President William Ruto's latest remarks on corruption in the judiciary and other arms of government have drawn criticism from stakeholders and political leaders. While the president has pointed fingers at various institutions, leaders say naming and shaming is not enough, urging him to forward files of individuals involved to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. On her part, Chief Justice Martha Koome defended the judiciary, insisting that its fidelity to the Constitution remains unshaken. Our senior political reporter, Elizabeth Mutuku, has the details.
Of the vigorous and often unsettling conversation around terms like jury pesa. As painful as this may be, they cannot be ignored.
Just hours after President William Ruto strongly criticized the judiciary, urging it to confront corruption head-on, various stakeholders have responded sharply, criticizing the president's remarks. They insist that if there are allegations of corruption within institutions, the president should present credible evidence to the EACC.
What would be better is to fight that corruption quietly, and then people can see the effect of that fight rather than attack whole institutions. Because when you say the judiciary is corrupt, there might just be a few elements within the judiciary who are corrupt. They need to be, rooted out. When you say parliament is corrupt, there might be a few people who are corrupt. They need to be pointed out and dealt with. Otherwise, you are eroding public trust in those institutions. And when public trust is eroded in all those institutions, where do they turn?
Leaders have further stressed the importance of fighting corruption through proper legal channels and credible processes. This is as they argue that if the claims by the head of state remain unsubstantiated, they risk eroding public trust in the key institutions, especially Parliament and the judiciary.
But thirdly, and more importantly, the President is the head of the executive. Now, he can address the judiciary, he can address the Speaker on the need to take action in those arms of government. But as the head of the executive, he has to demonstrate the actions he himself has taken within the executive. Because, in relative terms, there's a lot more allegations of corruption within the executive than any other place.
In the recent weeks, both President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga have heightened the need to tackle corruption. They've pointed all alleged extortion in Parliament and claims of judges and magistrates receiving payments in exchange of favorable rulings. However, analysts argue that such remarks may not be entirely sincere, suggesting they could be politically motivated.
We need to deal with this issue squarely by looking at this animal called corruption, the face, and dealing with it. That's the only way that our country will be able to move forward.
You see, when the president puts together a task force under his office and brings in independent institutions like ESCC and DPP, that actually is undermining the fight against corruption because it is subordinating independent institutions to the office of the president. And therefore, it is to suggest that when any allegations of corruption are made against the office of the president, there is no action that will be taken. That is not promoting integrity. That is undermining integrity. And therefore, I think that the political goodwill must be demonstrated.
In response, Chief Justice Martha Koome has come to the defense of the judiciary, confirming that the institution's commitment to upholding Constitution remains firm despite ongoing challenges. The question of Chapter 6 of the Constitution on matters integrity remains unresolved 15 years down the line since the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, even as blame game continues on fighting corruption. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47 Parliament Buildings, Nairobi.
Now, residents of Umoja area in Nairobi are living in fear following the rise of juvenile gangs composed of children aged between 12 and 19. These gangs are alleged to be responsible for the death of 15-year-old Joshua Kubiti last Friday. Police say 14 suspects have already been arrested and arraigned in court, even as further crackdowns are ongoing. The gangs have been linked to a spate of robberies and violent attacks, leaving many residents afraid to walk at night. Joshua's family is demanding justice, calling on authorities to stamp out the wave of crime engulfing the neighborhood. Sheila Chelengatna reports.
Last Friday, this family's world was shattered when 15-year-old Joshua Kubiti died from injuries he sustained during violent clashes linked to juvenile gangs that have been terrorizing Umoja's community. Winnie, Joshua's mother, is overwhelmed with shock and grief. She recalls how her son was happy and eager to return to school for the third term. The last memories of Joshua weigh heavily on her heart.
Mtoto aliniambia haelewi na hajielewi, ajui amegongwa na nini ama amechapwa na nini. Akafika mahali akaniambia hasiongea tena. Wakati nilimkimbiza hospitali, hatukurudi kuongea na mtoto wangu tena.
The juvenile gangs known locally by names such as Mbogi, Bad Bunny, Chinje and Silent have been linked to violence, phone snatching and theft in the area. They're often armed with knives, pangas and clubs.
Na mahali aligongwa ni kwa kwa ubongo, ndio maana damu iliteremka kwa kifua, akakuwa na internal bleeding.
The pain of losing a son is unbearable for Winnie.
Nakaa hivi nasema, ningejua naenda kupoteza mtoto wangu, singeacha apite, ningemchukua nikae na yeye.
Currently, 14 suspects, 10 boys and 4 girls, have been arrested and arraigned in court.
Kiwauliza issue mingi wanasema ni wasichana. Watakangi wale umoja tu wakuje kuuza wasichana umoja wani. Nao umoja wani waende ile site nyingine.
Shida inakuanga especially shule zikifungwa. Sasa hii kumefunguliwa shule kumetulia. Lakini immediately shule zikifungwa ndio mtaanza kuona hizi mashida.
For Joshua's family, the memories of their son are all they have left, even as they continue to demand justice.
Kwa tu hivyo tu tumefurahia hiyo Thursday. But mpaka saa hii bado siamini ati hatukuongea naye before he passed on. Nilimwacha kama amelala asubuhi toka 6.
Plans to lay the 15-year-old boy are currently underway, even as residents now call on authorities to put an end to these gangs that are wielding terror on this community. Sheila Chelangat for TV47 in Umoja, Nairobi.
Now, President William Ruto has announced a major expansion of the National Youth Service, that's NYS, pledging to scale up annual recruitment from 18,000 to 100,000 youths over the next 3 years. The announcement was made during the 89th NYS Recruits Passing Out Parade at the Paramilitary Academy in Gilgil, an event that also marked the largest graduating cohort in the service's history. Take a look.
Addressing over 18,000 graduates, President William Ruto emphasized NYS's evolving role in tackling youth unemployment and driving national development. In a bid to integrate NYS graduates into national security, the President directed the Ministry of Interior to absorb 4,000 of them into the National Police Service during the next recruitment cycle.
NYS is becoming a productive enterprise in agriculture, engineering, construction, textiles, and hospitality. It is ready. It is already producing maize meal, cooking oil, and fruit products, cutting costs and generating revenue.
The President announced plans to expand and upgrade NYS facilities, including hostels, aligning them with improvements in tertiary institutions and public universities.
We are implementing a bold, multi-pronged strategy to create jobs, expand opportunities, and empower every young Kenyan.
The President also highlighted the digitization of NYS operations through platforms like the Jobs Portal and Equipment Hiring Platform.
We are also digitizing NYS operations through the Jobs Portal and the Equipment Hiring Platform, while building centers of excellence such as the Leather Technology Institute with the International Labour Organization to match training to industry requirements.
The young men and women before us today have gone through a remarkable journey of transformation. They have embraced the values of teamwork, resilience, and commitment to a cause greater than themselves.
The event was attended by thousands of graduates, government leaders, families, and citizens who came to witness the culmination of a skills-based training for the youth. The ceremony featured an official parade, exhibitions of skills and technical training demonstrations that the National Youth Service has incorporated into its training curriculum.
All right, and with that, we'll definitely be bringing to you more news, but we just want to remind you of our big why tonight, which is Kenya targets 15 billion trees by 2032. Now, my question is, how many will you plant? We would absolutely love to hear from you. Remember, you can find us on social media at TV47 Kenya on all platforms. You can also text us or WhatsApp us. We'll put the number on your screen. So once again, tonight's Big Why is very simple. It is basically, how many trees do you intend on planting as Kenya targets 15 billion trees by 2032? Once again, the Big Why tonight, Kenya targets 15 billion trees by 2032. How many do you intend on planting? How many will you plant? We would absolutely love to hear from you on all social media platforms. Once again, at TV47 Kenya, you can also find me at Shiksha Arora on all social media platforms. And yeah, do text us, do WhatsApp us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on tonight's Big Why. For now though, let's take a short break. We'll be back with much more right here. Don't go anywhere. Coming up after the break. Tonight, we have a special interview on how communities are taking the lead in climate action. We explore the Go Green initiative, which is harnessing local innovation to drive sustainability at the grassroots level.
Hey kids and families, get ready for the most fun-packed show around, Kids on the Block. Join us for awesome music, magical storytime adventures, and super cool arts and crafts. Plus, we pop tasty treats in our cooking corner. Learn, laugh, and create with us. Kids on the Block, where every day is a brand new adventure. Don't miss it.
Rise and shine with the ultimate morning power play from Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Join Fred Indemuli.
Time for us to take a look at the headlines this morning
as he takes you straight to the heart of the nation on Morning Cafe. From breaking down political intrigues to unpacking the stories shaping our country, this is where tough questions meet hard and stay connected. It's your go-to morning fix on politics, policy, and the pulse of the nation.
Raila Odinga has put Kenya's interests first for many times.
The State of the Nation with Fred Indemuli, Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. only on TV47. Your morning, your nation, your voice.
All right, welcome back. Lots of messages telling us where you're watching from. We've got Mutai Amos who says, I'm watching from Sotik areas, Bomet County. We also have another one that says, I'm watching you live from Mombasa Nyali, that is Moki Katumbo. We've got Julius Bet who says, watching you from Bomet. Isaac Kitonga tuned in from Donholm, Nairobi. And yes, keep the messages coming in. One last one, Caleb Ominde, who says, I am also watching you from Uganda. That's live on YouTube. Remember, you can find us on all social media platforms at TV47 Kenya. If you're watching us live from YouTube right now, leave a comment and do tell us where you're watching from. Moving on to this live broadcast. Now, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka's rally in Tharaka Nithi descended into chaos today when rowdy youth stormed the event, sparking tension and trading of accusations. Kalonzo, who was launching the WPF Tharaka branch, faced heated disruptions as his team claimed that Deputy President Kithure Kindiki had hired goons to scuttle the rally. but locals fought back, chanting one term in defiance and throwing their support behind the opposition leader. The clashes come amid unresolved grievances over the stalled Kibuka Dam project, with residents demanding compensation and holding both President William Ruto and his deputy accountable.
Right? This is the dam, because people of Marimanti, for example, have very unstable electricity supply. Imagine with Kibuka Dam, all that will be history. Wanahusika kule kina Duale na wenzao. They know it's already a scam. It's one of those undone deals. Vile tuliwasimamisha kuuza kupiga Kamunara, our international airport.
Tena hatuna vita na Mheshimiwa Kindiki. Yeye anatumika pale kama flower girl, kwa sababu hakuna kitu anasaidia pale.
Tumetoka pale bila vurugu, wamepiga kelele, sisi tukaingia kwa magari na tukaondoka. Lakini that does not change. Ruto, you are serving one and only term.
All right, and with that, let's take a look at what's happening in the world of business, where rice farmers under the Mwea irrigation scheme are calling for the establishment of a rice council to advise the government on production levels and shortfalls, with the aim of curbing imports while local stocks remain unsold. Farmers are also urging the Kenya National Trading Corporation to fast-track rice purchases and payments ahead of the implementation of a High Court order that allows the importation of 250,000 metric tons of rice by the end of October.
They come down on the ground to know how many bags of rice we have, and then what is our shortfall and what can we import. But they should not go outright, out of the blues, import 50,000 metric tons. They don't know how many bags of rice we have in Mwea, and they don't even know the price we are selling in Mwea.
And you realize that Mwea is the only region that produces above 80% of the rice that is being produced in Kenya. Therefore, we are requesting for a rice council that will be able to oversee the production of rice so that they can be able to advise the government appropriately.
Nashukuru koti yetu ya Kenya, sababu wakati tulilia through ile tulilia walikubali wakaleta nusu. Hiyo jaji msaidiwa na Mungu akaleta nusu na nusu, lakini tunataka hata hiyo nusu iondolewe. Hii mshere yetu kama vile bereni tukuliwa na hospitali, tukuliwa na jeshi, tukuliwa na wale watu wanakula mchere.
Now, the National Housing Corporation has partnered with Crown Paints for the Affordable Housing Scheme in a bid to loop in industries through local collaboration. The agreement will see Crown Paints provide technical expertise, research support, and sustainable paint solutions for government-led projects. Crown Paints Head of Construction Sector Tom Oyer said the partnership aligns with national priorities by elevating industry standards while showcasing local innovation.
Paint is also a material when it comes to the construction of the built environment, and therefore looking at the kind of paints that would be more sustainable, that are environmentally friendly. It's very critical, especially when the housing sector is moving to actualize the sustainable development goals, and in specifically matters to do with environmental stewardship.
All right, now KenGen is leveraging public-private partnerships to drive sustainability in the energy sector. The collaboration with firms such as Nestle is expected to support innovation, capacity building and knowledge sharing. KenGen CEO engineer Peter Njenga said the partnerships highlight Kenya's commitment to a greener future by marrying corporate investment, global expertise and local innovation. The initiative is expected to drive clean energy adoption, enhance livelihoods and speed up Kenya's transition to a green economy.
Our goal is to power homes and industries, as well as Kenyans' transition to a green economy. In doing this, we safeguard tomorrow while energizing today. That is why the partnerships that we are celebrating today are timely.
In other news, Mabati Rolling Mills has launched the country's first mobile showroom as part of a strategy to reach underserved markets. The mobile unit will target homeowners, builders and developers nationwide, including rural areas. Now, speaking at the launch, CEO Albert Sigay said the showroom will enhance accessibility, offer expert consultations and support Kenya's housing and infrastructure growth. Take a look.
Very important because we listen to our customers, and our customers said you need to be closer, even closer to us than you are. So it's basically listening to that consumer and then bringing the showroom right where they are.
So the concept of a mobile showroom was basically to help the customer to go closer to the customer. So wherever we can't put up a showroom, and then go closer to the customer, easier for the customer to see the product. They can't come all the way to Nairobi or they can't come to Eldoret. So we go to them, show them all the products, all the accessories, all the products and what they can do, help them build their building, give them technical advice, and that's the reason why we wanted to do this.
All right, and with that, let's move on to sports and take a look at what's happening in the world of sports tonight. Now, Kenya Police FC, the national men's football champions, will need to be at their best at the upcoming Sekafa Kagame Cup 2025 after being drawn in a tough Group A alongside Tanzania's Singida Black Stars. Group A also features Ethiopian Coffee SC and Garde Cortes FC of Djibouti. 2024 runners-up APR Rwanda have been placed in Group B with NECFC and Bumamuru FC. The tournament will feature 12 teams and run from September 2nd to 15th in Dar es Salaam, the capital of Tanzania.
Clubs will be so excited to participate here and to show everything that we have, and this is not also good for, not only good for us, also it is good for Africa as a whole. And they say that is the competition level that we had in the CHAN. So this is one of the indications that we can move to another level. So
sababu sisi Sekafa tumekuwa na mashindano mengi, tunakuwa mashindano ya vijana, ya wanawake, ya vilabu pia kwa wanawake. Sasa hivi tunacheza, kwa mfano mwezi huu tena hapa Nairobi kutakuwa na mashindano ya wanawake ya Sekafa kwa clubs. Ni jambo jema kuhakikisha kwamba sisi vijana wetu au maeneo yetu ya Sekafa timu zetu zinakuwa katika mashindano ili kuweza kufanya vizuri.
Now, the Cricket Kenya T20 League is set to bowl off this November in Nairobi. Following its official launch this week, the tournament has attracted 6 franchises: Nairobi Challengers, Simba Royals, Mombasa Wildebeest, Kisumu Tuskers, Rhino Hitters, and Masai Mara Warriors. The first season will span 25 days, featuring local players and a few approved international players. The league is backed by AOS Sports Tournament, a Dubai, India-based company, with a 5-year sponsorship deal worth approximately 260 million Kenya shillings. During the launch, Kenya cricket legends such as Maurice Odumbe, Martin Suji, Maurice Ouma, Collins Obuya, David Obuya, Kennedy Obuya, Tony Suji, and Elijah Otieno, who were each awarded 100,000 Kenya shillings in recognition of their contribution to this sport.
The important thing is to see what we can do for our youth, and that is the most important thing. For Cricket Kenya, all we're asking for is to support whichever differences we have. This is bigger than all of us.
CK T20 League is more than just a cricket tournament. It's a celebration of sports we love and testament to what can achieve through teamwork and determination.
If you look at the IPL, which has brought, the best of cricket in India, and if we can emulate that here, I'm sure, Kenya cricket will reach, the heights of 2003.
And as Nairobi County government, we are also committed to supporting cricket alongside all other sports, because talent does not choose a sport.
Meanwhile, Ability Sports Kenya held its maiden national trials in Nairobi, featuring para-powerlifting and para-badminton athletes set to represent Kenya at the 2025 World Ability Sports Championships in Mersin, Turkey. Now, the global event, scheduled for October 18th to 25, will host the first ever outdoor World Para-Powerlifting World Cup. Kenya's newly selected athletes, including Sonia Tendai, Francis Dong, Elizabeth Oma, and Patrick Mwema, are now officially in preparation for the championship.
That tunasema they're showcasing their abilities. So tunataka pia uko nje watu wajue as person with disability tuna uwezo ya kufanya vitu ambazo zinafanyika uko nje, and we compete among ourselves and we do good. Kwa tunafanya vizuri sana. Actually powerlifting tunaweza jiringa tukisema kwa wame participate in so many events.
People living with disability, being that if they are in the house, it becomes difficult. They cannot earn a living through staying at home. But in sports, they can earn a living and they will feel nice, and it encourages them.
We are not like men. There are days you feel like the body cannot train. You don't feel like you have that power to push because of various reasons that we go through as ladies.
All right, and with that, we'd like to take a short commercial break. But before we do that, we'd just like to remind you of our Big Why tonight. Remember, we are moving on to the sustainability part of tonight's live broadcast. And of course, I'm talking about Green Fix. So tonight on our Big Why, the question is pretty simple. It is, Kenya targets 15 billion trees by 2032. Now, the question being, how many will you plant? Once again, Kenya targets 15 billion trees by 2032. How many will you plant? We'd absolutely love to hear from you. Remember, our WhatsApp number is on your screen. You can also find us on all social media platforms. That's at TV47 Kenya on X. You can also look for us on Instagram, on Facebook. If you're watching live on YouTube as well, thank you so much for always keeping it TV47. Once again, our question tonight on The Big Why is very simple. Kenya targets 15 billion trees by 2032. How many do you intend on planting? We also will be having a very interesting conversation with Dr. Young Tello as well as Dr. Peter Hayombe from Go Green. And our topic of conversation tonight will be role of communities in climate action. That's going to be happening after this short commercial break. So there's a lot lined up for you. Make sure you stay tuned right here only on TV47. This is The Green Fix.
Hey kids and families.